I asked for the of the minutes.
So moved.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, minutes have been approved from the March 21st meeting.
Okay, now they can hear us.
So I need to repeat myself?
Yeah.
The Finance and Administration Committee is now called to order. May I have approval of the March 21st minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Coming before us first is Brian Thomas with the CTAP interview. Is he with us?
He's on the screen.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Brian. Do you want to tell us a little bit why you want to be on the CTAP?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got some echo going on with somebody. Just a sec.
At our end.
Hi. So I think it's just I'm hearing my own echo. Give me just a second.
He's good on our end.
You're good on our end, pretty much, Brian, if you want to proceed.
Okay, it might just be me. Yeah, so I personally believe it's important for citizens to be involved, play a role in their communities, and try to shape their communities to make them healthier and better for everyone. I've always been interested in how people get around, and especially in the last, I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. We frequently bike, walk, take the bus all the time, and I'd really like to be an advocate for all modes of transportation that serve everyone, that are more sustainable, better for our city, better for our planet, and so I think this is a way that I can do that.
Brian, what do you feel is the biggest challenge right now in the CTAP world for the city of Spokane? Or opportunity, how about that?
I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities for, I'd say like traffic calming efforts. There's very simple, I think there's some simple things we could maybe do, like put some planters up to make some streets, make some streets safer. This is my own block, so I'm sure there's lots of other blocks around the city where we could kind of minimize the car traffic. The cars can still get in, but then it's a place for kids to play, a place for kids to be a part of their community. I think that'd be a very cheap and fun and way to make communities all across the city safer, especially for our children. I'd really going along with traffic calming and just making sure that as any projects that come along the CTAP review and purview are accessible to everyone. Like, for example, my son, he broke his leg. He's been in a wheelchair for a few weeks, and it's really made it clear how challenging it is for people that aren't able-bodied to get around. So I'd really like to advocate there as well and ensure all projects are accessible to everyone, ADA compliant and whatnot.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councilmember Stratton?
Hi, Brian. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you, Karen?
I'm doing good. Hey, I appreciate that you're taking time to talk with us today. Can you just mention a little bit? I know you and your family have been really involved in the West Central neighborhood. So maybe you might want to talk a little bit about your involvement in the neighborhood. And then the one issue that we've been talking about, I want to say it's on, is it Pettit Drive?
Mm-hmm.
That Brian's very good about communicating with council members about suggestions, things that he thinks there might be problems with. So if you can remember that, you might want to throw that in too.
Sure. So we've been we've involved in the neighborhood for the last 7 years or so, ever since we moved here. We live in West Central. We were both members of the neighborhood council for a few years, and I was a part of the Parks Committee that helped design and build Dutch Shakes Park, kind of going from small little committee meetings at the community center with a few students from Eastern and I believe Karen, you might have been there. I can't remember, 5 or 6 years ago. Kind of seeing that project through to completion. We're both active with Salem Lutheran Church, which is a church in our community. I know that's partnered with the council as far as a warming shelter at night for a couple different winters now. And then my wife is the chair of Reach West Central, which is a nonprofit advocating for the neighborhood. They did a lot of work specifically regarding the TIF extension. They work with Jim Frank, and I know the council as well. And I am a member of Reach West Central as well, although my role is mostly to watch the kids while my wife is the chair and kind of runs everything there. Specifically as far as Pettit Drive is concerned, so it's, as you come up, I'm going to come up Doomsday Hill where it curves to the left, and the speed limit is 20 miles per hour there. There's a community center and a big park. There's an after-school program there. There's a pool, and the street is very wide. It's really unsafe. There's not really a safe crossing except for near the pool. So I think there's some specific opportunities there that, whether that falls under the CTAB or not, I would love to see that area made safer and more welcoming to everyone, especially the kids that are trying to cross the street there. I believe it's 55 feet across, which is the same width as one way at a viaduct through downtown. For a single or for a 2-lane road going past a park, it's 20 miles an hour. So that's a specific kind of safety issue that I would love to see addressed. So does that answer your question, Karen?
It does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for stepping up, volunteer.
Just quickly,
Go
if I could, yeah. So I've known Brian for some time. We worked together at one point, and I just want to say Brian was fantastic to work with. He was always a great asset to our team, and so I think Brian's going to be a great addition.
Thanks, Johnny. Good seeing you again.
Brian, thank you. We'll leave it with that. Councilmember Bingo, and so you'll be hearing from us soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Next, we're going to have Council President Biggs come to us. Council President?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, this is just briefly, we were noticing not long ago that council hadn't formally taken a position on the upcoming EMS levy vote. So I wanted to give us an opportunity to vote on it. Nicolette proposed substitution with some amended language, which made sense to me, so I welcome that, and I hope we'll add that to at 3:30 when we have an opportunity to do that. That just took care of one typo and then made it clear that if it didn't fail, there would be not zero service, it would just be substantially below what the current service levels are. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
And just clarification, that was my suggestion there.
Oh, thank you, Councilmember
Yes,
Bingo?
With the assistance of your LA.
Absolutely.
Great. Any other comments about the levy? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Council President. You are missed, but we're glad you're here on the screen. We were going to have a report from Gavin Cooley, but we will postpone that to a later date. So at this time, Connor, welcome back, and we will have the quarterly investment report.
Councilmember Wilkerson, can I ask when Mr. Cooley will be presenting?
Thank you, Councilmember Kinnear, for that question. That is in conversation, so I'm hopeful it will be at the next F&A committee meeting.
Or sooner?
Or sooner, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council,
Hi.
and good afternoon. Today I'll be presenting the results of the Q1 2022 investment portfolio report. We'll be looking at portfolio balance, profile, as well as performance on the following presentation.
Connor, can you share that into the WebEx meeting so that the remote people can see it?
Sure, yeah, no problem. Does that work? Looks
You
good.
can minimize that box that's up there too so that you can see everything a little bit better. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So taking a look at the cash and investment activities quarter to quarter, Q4 21 to Q1 22, you'll see we incurred a reduction a little over $17 million. But looking at the following chart, showing the, if my chart would work. There it is. Looking at historical trends over a several year period, you can see it's not much of a surprise. Q4 tends to be a bit higher with incoming property taxes, and you kind of see that decline from Q2 21 to Q4 or Q1 of 22. Any questions regarding the cash and investment activity performance this quarter?
Is that Q1 22, the last bar?
Yeah, correct. So you can kind of see the trend line there. And then taking a look at the composition of our portfolio, you kind of see a breakdown between, our coupon securities are making up the largest, portion of our portfolio, followed by the local government investment pool, about 32.4%. And then you see we have some various other investment activities that make up, smaller portions of the overall portfolio.
Can you describe what's a coupon security?
Coupon securities is basically going to be our bond securities. Okay. So we've got various aging on those, and I'll have that in the following slide. Kind of shows our liquidity and aging distribution. So you can see LGIP makes up the majority, about 32.4%. There is some strategy behind that that has changed over several years, just driven by changes in the market. But then you can kind of see where our other investments lie in terms of aging. So have a good portion that are sitting within short-term investments, 6 months to about 2 years, and then a little bit smaller activity in the out years. And typically at the city, we like to invest in 5 years and less. And there are some exceptions to that. As you see, we do have some that are sitting in a 5-year plus based on strategies over the last several years. And so we look at investment performance in this last quarter. So we did see an unrealized loss of about $2.4 million, and I'll kind of get into what's driving that. But yield to maturity and effective rate of return were relatively unchanged. They went up by a few basis points, but if we look at comparable cities, Portland, Colorado Springs, we're actually kind of outperforming relative to other cities. So that's a good sign to see. But looking at the overall performance and the unrealized loss, you kind of see that dramatic uptick here in Q1 on the 2-year Treasury yield. So we kind of started seeing that trend pick up in Q4 of 21, but that 150-ish basis points is really what's driving our performance right now with the current securities that we're sitting on. And I'll explain here even further kind of what's going on in the bond market just real quickly. So inflation's obviously been a big topic lately over the last couple of months. To kind of curtail that, the Fed will then rise interest rates, which they did here back in March. What that does is that drives overall demand for current bond investments down, and to attract buyers back in the market, they increase those bond yields to bring them back into the market. That lowers bond prices, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now within our current portfolio. So, any questions on the overall bond market?
I get the bond market. Just with that loss, are we going to hear how that is trickling through our whole financial portfolio for the city?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into kind of the next steps at the end of this presentation, and there would be more, strategy obviously involved with Mr. Cooley and kind of his go-forward plan as well.
Okay.
But absolutely, I'll kind of follow up on the next steps here in just a few slides. So this is just yield curve continued. Again, kind of just shows that dramatic swing between just a 1-month period. So in the orange there, that's as of March 4th, as of early April, you can kind of see that steady increase. So just kind of, again, going to show what's going on in the bond market just within the last, month and a half. And so the next steps, so we'll have a more detailed review of the investment portfolio. We'll schedule a meeting with the investment advisory committee as well, where we'll brainstorm strategic recommendations to report back. So there'll be more to come in terms of how we're going to approach, the next couple months here.
Yes.
Council members, if I may, let me just kind of emphasize on that loss that you saw. That is an unrealized loss, much as our gains that we had even 2 years ago in 2020 when stock market was also moving. That was an unrealized gain. So are we technically losing any funds? No, we're not. That is just compared what we've got booked compared to if we were to sell at that time, that would be the loss that we would take. Or in the case of when we had a $5 to $6 million gain, had we sold our investments, we would have gained on that. But we did not sell, and we do not anticipate selling on our investments at this time either. We are a little bit heavy on the LGIP, the overnight rates, but a good portion of that is the $40 million of ARPA funding that we have not invested until we have a better understanding of the programming and what that potential cash flow might look like. When we have that understanding, then we can identify the types of securities that we would want to invest in to start earning those yields.
Great. Any other questions for Ms. Wallace while she's up here? All right. Thank you, Tanya, for clarification. Appreciate it. I took that as a signal you were completed, Connor. Thank you. Next, we're going to have a mayoral appointment, and we're going to have Christian Smith come up and walk us through these. Welcome to your first presentation at council.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, council members, council president. I have two agenda items for you today. We are seeking council confirmation of two mayoral appointees. The first being for the Water and Hydroelectric Services Director. This position, the recruitment action opened on December 3rd of 2021 and was closed on January 9th, so it was open a little bit over a month. We received 8 applications. 4 applicants did not meet the minimum qualifications. 4 applicants passed only the minimum screening, and thus 4 applicants were selected to participate in the first round of interviews. Ultimately, 3 candidates were selected for and participated in the second round of interviews. And Mr. Searle, who has been a city employee for 26 years, with 5 years being in the position of the water superintendent, has been selected for this potential confirmation.
Great. Any questions from council? None. Let's proceed.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Okay, the second agenda item is concerning a second council confirmation of mayoral appointee for the public defender. We are seeking appointment of Nick Antouche to the public defender position. The recruitment action opened on November 1st of 2021 and closed on December 7th of 2021. 10 applications were received. 3 applicants did not meet the minimum qualifications. 7 applicants passed only the minimum screening, and 7 applicants were selected to participate in the first round of interviews. 2 candidates were selected for and participated in the second round of interviews. And Mr. Antouche has been a city employee for 27 years within the Public Defender's Office, and we're presenting him for council confirmation of his appointment. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
My question is, was there any community engagement? This is such a high-profile position. I know some council members have the opportunity to interview, but was there any community members that were asked to be part of this selection process?
At this point, I can seek confirmation on that information and get back to you. Councilmember Wilkerson, absolutely no problem to get you subsequent information on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, Councilmember Stratton?
I just want to, excuse me, I just want to say how happy I am that we have these two that we'll be looking at that are current employees that have had this opportunity to promote up and to bring that experience and that years of service to the city into kind of a higher position for both. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to have Garrett come up and speak to us about Don Cardon Bridge. Garrett. I'm laughing. Garrett just makes me laugh. We were talking about Easter, so I have a visual in my mind.
Uh-oh. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, City Council, Council President, for the opportunity. And I just want to thank, too, with the prior commitment and dialogue and the recent communication of where we're at today on the Don Cardon Bridge. So, as you know, previously it was approved to utilize $1.45 million out of the ARPA funds to help support the critical piece of infrastructure along the Centennial Trail that connects Gonzaga University with the University District in District 1. At that time, our engineering estimate was $2.25 million for that total project cost. We went out to bid on after that confirmation, and then we received bids on April 4th. Despite having 5 qualified general contractors, we only received 1 qualified bid back, and that apparent low bid that was recommended scope came in 46% above the engineered estimate for that project cost. And so, including contingencies, the projected new cost is $3.7 million, with the original being 2.25, so that the delta being approximately 1.5 million. Upon debriefing, the good news is here we have a great reputable general contractor that bid on this project and is very transparent in their numbers and willing to work with the city. And we really looked at why did this project come in so high. 2 of the biggest factors is material cost, with steel going up almost 100%, and no sign of going down anytime soon, and then concrete going up 80%. And then also a shortage in labor availability. We did reach out to a number of the other qualified contractors and why they did not bid. And it was really the scope of work. They're busy, and they thought really in this market they wouldn't be competitive with some of those other qualified contractors bidding as well. Also, we really looked at, on the scheduling side, if we would defer this and rebid. The fear is that the steel price and concrete pricing isn't locked in for a short amount of time. And then we're also told even if we did rebid, there would be a risk of no bidders whatsoever. And so when we're looking at the scheduling of part of this project too, we are up against a timeline even outside of inflation and increased material cost, with a RCO grant that we received that we mentioned previously for $726,000 that goes towards this project. That if we do not complete this project by April of 2023, so that means substantially complete, the public can utilize this project and bridge, that we would lose that grant. We also have been working with other partners. Gonzaga has graciously gave us a $50,000 cash donation and also an in-kind easement for construction. Access and staging area valued a little bit higher than $70,000. University District has also given us $70,000 towards this project, and then also we're working on a third partner as well. We're not quite ready to announce it yet, but they have tentatively agreed for additional $50,000 to go towards this project as well. So in summary, and due to the increased material and labor cost, we're not recommending to rebid this project at this time to try to find a way to move forward. And so looking at the recommendations that we have, in front, it would be our recommendation if the council could look at what we would call a 50-50 split between 750,000 coming from additional ARPA funds, and then we would take the 750,000 from park funds that we have in our capital reserves to be able to make up that difference. And timeline as well, we're looking at going to Park Board in May, beginning of May, for approval of this contract. And then the contractor has guaranteed they're looking at a 6-month window to complete the project, so they're ready to go as well. Any questions? Yes, Ken?
So the 750,000, what's the opportunity cost? What are we not gonna pay for or accomplish, I guess, if we
Yeah.
move that to the bridge?
Yeah, so there is an impact. And when we looked at trying to split and trying to find the most equitable opportunity rather than coming to you for the full 1.5, there is some smaller projects that would be deferred in our neighborhood parks. There's also, it limits our opportunity, quite honestly, too, as we look at the other ARPA funds for playgrounds and restrooms. We wanted to be able to leverage those funds as well within our own parks capital, Liberty Park being a great example with that announcement and a partnership of really revitalizing that location, like Wild Horse Park, not only looking at the playground, but looking at future connections as WashDOT looks at the pedestrian bridge coming into the neighborhood, what type of investments can we make there. It does limit some of that. Also with a great partnership with the water department and water conservation, looking at those opportunities around our irrigation projects and leveraging park capital funds. And some smaller ones that have been on our books, like the Corbin Park tennis courts that need resurfacing. That is an impact. We just feel at this point not completing this bridge and potentially losing the grant money and also the existing ARPA funds that have been allocated to this project does have a larger risk overall for the future of not getting this project done.
Who would be most impacted if the bridge was not operable, if it was just shut down? Who would be most impacted by that?
So our numbers right now, and that's a great question, it's annually when we had the trail counters out there, it's about 160,000 citizens a year that access that bridge.
But do we know what types of users? Are they college students mostly because they're kind of moving through campus, or are these just the people who live in the condos nearby, park visitors? Do we have an idea?
No, we don't have that detail, but I think as a greater context of the regional trail system and the Centennial Trail, I imagine it's a very wide variety that utilize that bridge today.
And if it was closed, how difficult is a detour to get where you need to go?
We'd have to utilize the Spokane Falls Boulevard Bridge just towards the south. And that's what we're looking at as far as using for a detour when we do the construction, working with the Friends of Centennial Trail and our traffic engineers of having that detour. But yeah, ultimately, if that bridge was closed, we'd have to use that vehicular bridge.
And you mentioned that Gonzaga was providing an in-kind for where we could basically set up our work. So if we were in any other situation, I guess Gonzaga would normally charge us to use their property for that?
They would. And so what we did, and rather than paying for market rate, we utilized a previous agreement that they just had with STA and the Central City line, and we took that same cost that STA used for that similar piece of property and then used that as the in-kind donation portion to that.
It just seems strange because Gonzaga is, I think, one of the biggest beneficiaries of that bridge operating well, that they would actually charge us to fix the bridge, but.
They do have that ability, so they didn't in this case, but they would otherwise have that ability.
And there's no other conversations around them kicking in more dollars?
Not at this point, but again, we have a couple other potential here in the pipeline. I mean, these aren't significant amounts, but I think it does show the overall ownership of the community and these other nonprofit organizations seeing the value in the Don Cardong Bridge and wanting to see it complete. So we're happy to see that.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Thanks, Garrett. I think it's really important that we understand that this bridge is part of the trail system. It's not just used by Gonzaga students, it's used by the entire community and visitors. When I was a board member of Friends of the Centennial Trail, it was seen as a huge connector piece and vital to making sure that our trail system is whole. So even the amount of time that it's going to be out of commission for repair is going to be felt by everybody, not just Gonzaga students. And I think we discount the amount of use our whole trail system gets from people, not just, and the amount of tourist draw that our trail system has. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, when we look at the overall economic impact, and I think when we visit Spokane and some other of our organizations, I think one of the biggest draws, of course, is the Centennial Trail and our river corridor. And also, I think we have a story to tell as well with the history of Spokane and the corridor, and this being a previous rail bridge. And that really, too, would entice Gonzaga to really want to be a partner. It wasn't really about having their name on the bridge. It was about telling the story of Gonzaga, Lake Arthur, what it used to be, and where it's heading. And I think that was the same with the University District as well in their commitment, because they see that overall regional impact. And we're one of few that have this type of trail system that goes through our urban environment here in downtown Spokane. And that too, we're seeing in the Riverfront Park Master Plan, trail connections in the Centennial Trail were in that top tier that the citizens were telling us as well, that needed to make sure that those infrastructure was adequate. We had wayfinding, it was easy to move through, and so that, as a result, was one of our higher priorities as well when we reinvested into Riverfront Park.
Great.
And, is there another question?
Yes,
Go ahead.
Councilmember Bingham.
Mine's more of a statement, but I know that the reason why we approved the 1.4 earlier to save, or not to save, but to not lose out on that 726 was because we didn't want our smaller projects, to be affected. And, in our district, parks are a great outlet for people who don't necessarily have as much money to get out and do, bigger or more expensive things. And so what I might suggest to the council and see if this is something we would be available or open to is not just giving you 750 from ARPA, but the full 1.5 to make sure that the parks aren't missing out on that playground and bathroom upgrades, to make sure that people in our district have a great place to be able to take their families and enjoy themselves. So that would be my suggestion.
I think that's a great idea. At least we're not losing out on our neighborhood parks.
Right.
And that's my biggest concern, is that if we took it all from ARPA, is that revenue replacement, or does it meet one of the guidelines under ARPA?
We're working with Tanya on two different, it would be under revenue replacement and, is it economic impact? Negative economic impact into the disproportionate population. So there is a couple of other buckets that we would be able to move money around, and appreciate Councilmember Spingles for support. Again, when we found this kind of shock and awe, and it's a tough one for us because it's really out of our control to have that crystal ball of where construction costs are and where they're headed. And that 750 at the time seemed, as a balance, but there's give and take, and there is impact. I can't come up here and say there wouldn't be impact of using that 750 out of the park fund. So anything above and beyond that, of course, would go back into really that neighborhood investment.
Well, I will speak. Thank you, Garrett, for that. When you first spoke of this delta in parks that looked at how they could make it work and to share. So we could go back to ARPA. That would delay this timeline. I know you're in a timeline to get the project moving. So at this point, I'm just one voice. I would suggest that we move ahead on with the proposal you have and then revisit it because we still have ARPA money and we have ARPA time. But if we delay it again, I don't know how that would affect the contracts and agreements that you already have in place going forward. And I do want to say I do support the entities around us with that bridge, the U District, Gonzaga, the others who may step up. Not so much, yes, I would like more money from them, but to show this partnership and ownership, I think is critical. As in anything we do in the city, the more people who are committed to it, I just think it just bodes well for us. So I will defer to the Parks Department if you want to delay this or go forward as we have it presented at this time. I had this conversation with Councilmember Bingle, and I said Parks came to us and told us what they wanted, and so I defer to their expertise in this manner at this point in time. Currently, as the SBO sits, Councilmember Bingle and myself are both willing to sponsor it. So we are moving forward.
Well,
Councilmember-
yeah, I guess my question is, why would it delay? We can act on an SBO at any point in time.
We can. It'll have to go back through the process as it has gone back with the childcare. So
Why?
again, because that's the process. Again, if it goes that way, how will it affect the contract agreements that they have currently? Not saying it could not be added to, but I don't want to put any delay right now on parks as to their movement in this process.
So I guess rhetorically, I would just ask the question, I mean, is the process what's slowing our ARPA dollars down? Do we
So-
need to change the process?
So it would go back to the committee. It would come back to council for an approval for the increase. So we're talking, it won't slow it down, but that could be several more weeks. Again, how will that affect the parks and the contracts they have negotiated at this time? Right, for the bridge. I'm talking for the bridge that they have in place.
So with the current proposal that we have, if we approve this and they came back and asked for 750,
That would certainly be an option, absolutely. That is not off the table.
And I think one approach we could do that to be as transparent as possible is then to again gather more information on the impacts. So if it was approved with the 750, we can come back saying, here would be the impacts or sacrifices with that additional 750 from the park fund, and here's the list of potential projects that we would be able to utilize using that delta that we were going to use out of our park fund. As far as delay, we do need to approve this at the May Park Board meeting just because of steel, they're right now holding that price for a short period of time, the steel and the concrete. And what I don't want to do either is the more delay we potentially have is then more risk for potential change orders down the road as well. So originally the plan was at the latest, bring back the SBO for the full council consideration May 2nd. If council wanted to, we would have an option to suspend the rules for next Monday. But at a minimum, May 2nd would give us a couple days then to prepare the financial proposal then that would go to the park board that first week in May.
Great. So again, when you come back with the impacts, they could be reviewed. We want to make sure each district impacts will be felt equally or where the needs are in our underserved neighborhoods going forward. So any other questions for Garrett at this time?
Well, I'll just be clear. If it's going to take away neighborhood parks, I'm not going to support it. So I'd like to find a path where we're not going to take away the line items from our neighborhoods.
That's not what I heard. I heard that the opportunity to come back for more funding when he has more information on the impacts that'll be made.
Right. But I just want to be clear. I don't want any mystery. I don't want to cut neighborhood parks.
Yeah,
But the request for the park piece could come back as another ARPA
absolutely,
request.
absolutely. I don't think anybody, well, I can't speak for everybody. I don't
Nobody
want
wants to
to
cut parks.
impact cutting back on parks either.
Absolutely not.
But I want this to go forward
Yes.
as it is right now. So, any other comments?
All right?
Thank
We
you,
can do that.
Garrett.
All right, appreciate
We
it.
look
Thank you.
forward to hear. Great. Is Paul coming to us via Zoom today? Paul, welcome. And he'll be coming with our quarterly financials, and then he'll go into the SBO. Did you make sure that Councilmember Bingle,
Oh, I love that.
and Wilkerson?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Oh, okay. Is sponsoring that SBO. Thank you.
That's very cool.
Paul?
Is that a combination of
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, City Council members. I'm here to present the quarterly financial report. This is about the time of year when we start coming back with these updates. So I'm going to attempt to share some PowerPoint. Okay, so this is the QR1 report covering January through March of 2022. And you should have received the full 15-page report, I think the end of the week, last week, which is considered draft until the last day of the month. So this is going to just summarize that material into 3 or 4 slides And then we're happy to take any questions either in this meeting or offline as well. So we reformatted it. We have 4 separate sections now to try to cover the full gamut of financial information that we present for the city. So the section 1 is the summary financial information, which is what you are used to seeing. It's the general fund overview of some departments and divisions in the general fund, and then some select other funds and departments such as special revenue funds or some of our enterprise funds. Section 2 is the general fund reserve summary. Section 3 are going to be special reports, rotating special reports. So we're going to present on the ARPA projects, budget changes, and also capital project statuses twice a year. And then section 4, we're holding for economic indicators, just borrowing from some of the regional work that's out there and just trying to consolidate it into one report. Again, the draft is presented at FNA, and then the final report will be published the last day of that month. So getting into the data, sections 1 and section 2 here. The general fund revenue is approximately 4.2% above year-to-date projections, and we do that in the budget office based off of prior year actuals coming in. So we're about 4% above where we expected to be through the first 3 months of the year. Sales tax is the main driver. It's up about 6% compared to Q1 2021. On the expenditure side, we're about 0.2% above year-to-date projections on expenditures, so pretty close to budget. But if you look through the report, you'll see a couple of departments are beyond where we expect them to be, and that might just be some seasonal costs that are hitting this year that we didn't expect based off of prior year spending. But the biggest category, salaries and benefits, they're about 7.5% below year-to-date projections. And the other note for the financial information, the uniform overtime, which we present on a monthly basis, through Q1, police has spent $340,000, and fire has spent almost $800,000 more than the same time period in 2021. Section 2, the general fund reserve summary, which again is going to look pretty similar to what we presented last year. Unappropriated fund balance is still being calculated as accounting works through the year-end close for 2021, so we don't have an updated number on that yet. The 2 other reserve accounts in the general fund, the revenue stabilization, which is, I believe, 3.5% of current year revenue budget. It's about 0.1% off of that target, or $233,000. And the contingency reserve, which I believe is 10% of the expenditure budget, is 0.3% off of that target, or almost $608,000. Any question on sections 1 or 2 before I move on?
Paul, could you give us an update as when we expect the overtime study? Or Tanya, can you speak to that?
I think Tanya could probably speak to that.
She's coming up
more
right
than I
now,
can.
Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
No, this one.
Is it working? Okay,
Okay.
there we go. Thank you, council members. Yeah, you might recall that we have a forensic leave use audit that is going on in the fire department at this time. And based on my last meeting just last week with that consultant, we do anticipate that one wrapping up with information coming forward in May. So it's coming forward very quickly. On the overtime study, which is a different consultant for both police and fire, all of the data, which was going to be our biggest barrier, has been submitted. So the analysis has started on that. I do expect by the end of May that we will have an issues report out from that consultant. So we're very much on target, even given our barriers and our tools that we anticipated. So on target with both of those.
And that 798,000 is not over just what they've budgeted. That's over that same point last year, which was also far above what we had expected, correct, from fire?
Yes, it is far and above. I don't recall if it's above what's been budgeted or if that was the amount in QR1. Paul might be able to answer that.
So this is more than that same period last year, right, Paul?
That's correct, yeah. So it's last year was high, this year is higher. And I can get the exact numbers, but I'm having some technical difficulties hearing, so I'm my ear to the speaker right now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And Paul, my last, just briefly, I guess I'm surprised by the 7.5% below year-to-date on salaries and benefits. That's just still continue to be unfilled positions? Under section,
That's what it was looking like, council member, for the first 2 months of the year. For the third month, for March, it looks like we were actually catching back up to the projected numbers. So we would hope that the vacancies from the months 1 and months 2 would be able to carry forward a little bit going the rest of the way. But my guess, and I can verify this, is that beginning of the year, the vacancies were the main driver for that.
okay, thank you much.
Paul and council members, I do think a part of this, when Paul and I were looking at this, particularly for police, you might recall that the first quarter of last year, we hadn't yet settled on the guild contract, so it was artificially low. So that might be explaining part of that big difference, because then when the guild settled, and we settled that in May, it was actually paying back years of catch-up on that. So probably in the first quarter and the second quarter, we're going to see some unusual numbers because of that anomaly.
So don't go. It's my understanding, though, we planned for that to a certain degree over the years that a guild contract wasn't settled. So we were actually squirreling away money in anticipation of paying for that. So to some degree, that doesn't make sense.
Councilmember Kinnear, you are exactly right. We do set money aside, but then when the contract settles, we actually have to pay it out.
Right.
So it's the payout at the time in May that is causing the numbers the
So-
way we're seeing them.
Is there a way that we can make sure that,
That we can level that?
yeah, well, to make sure that council members who weren't here for all that can understand that, what actually happened and why?
Yeah, we can certainly map something out to
That would be
better
helpful, I
explain.
think, for everybody.
Yep.
Thanks.
Great. All right, Paul, we'll let you continue.
All right, thank you. So section 3 and section 4, again, that special reports, we focused the first quarter on budget changes to the adopted budget citywide. So the adopted budget amount was about $1 billion. If you look at it currently, we're at almost $1.2 billion. Most of that change, $145 million, was due to the encumbrance carryover, which was passed back in early February to move the budget authority from 2021 for appropriately contracted goods or capital projects or grants into the 2022 budget. So that was about 85% of that. And then the remaining $24 million in budget changes were SBOs through the first 3 months of the year. And $15 million of that were the ARPA SBOs. So that just kind of gives you a flavor of what totaled almost the $190 million in changes through the first 3 months. And the last little section, the economic indicators. And again, this is in the quarterly report, so if you have any additional questions, but we just want to highlight the unemployment rate for the Spokane Valley MSA, our statistical area, was increasing from near record lows. We were down to about 3.4% in November, and the preliminary numbers for February were about 5.7%. And then overall taxable sales, and again, snapshot in the report, taxable sales for the city were down 1.5% in January 2022 compared to January 2021. I think that's it for that item.
Any other questions for Paul before we move on? Thank you, Paul. How about you move on to the real estate excise tax?
Okay. Thank you again. So this is on PDF page 19 of your packet. There's an agenda sheet for a special budget ordinance to appropriate approximately $2.4 million in real estate excise tax funds for 12 projects approved and included in the 2022 through 2027 capital improvement program. One of the challenges from our old budget software is our web-based capital portal did not talk directly to our financial system. So there was no way to immediately and automatically verify that what we had in the capital plan made it into the actual operating budget. So the 22 through 27 CIP included about $3.6 million in projects to be funded from REAP. Almost $1.2 million was included in the adopted budget. And the balance was inadvertently just not appropriated in the 2022 budget, and that was just human error on our part. So we're requesting an SCO to appropriate that $2.4 million for the projects already approved in the CIP, and I believe the list is in the agenda packet as well.
It is in your agenda packet. Any questions for Paul? So I am sponsoring this. I need another council member to co-sponsor to move this on.
I will.
Thank you, Councilmember Kinnear. Okay. I think, Paul, I think are you done?
I think I'm done.
Thank you. Next, we're going to bring
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Paul. Have a good afternoon. We're going to bring Tanya back up for our Deputy Treasurer.
Thank you, council members. Yes, this is an SBO so that we can take a reclassified position of deputy manager and change it into a deputy treasurer position and involve all of you and the mayor in that process. Right now, the deputy manager position is an M&P B position. This would reclassify it to an M&P A position. In doing and changing it from one type of position to another position, upon review of that particular position, there were a lot of things that I depend on that position to do that were missing from the job description, meaning that somebody wasn't doing them or somebody else was doing them, or they just weren't getting done. For example, there is only one line in the job description of the manager related to investments, and nothing related to complex debt ratio calculations or helping to assist with the negotiation of many of our financial agreements, such as the bank contract, which if you have ever seen a bank contract, is usually about this big. Definitely need a lot of assistance in negotiating those contracts. I also depend on this person to help assist with the arbitrage every year, as well as helping to report on many of the debt requirements that we have. So in doing so, this reclassification elevates this position and puts a little more responsibility into that position. And as such, I do believe it is important to change it to an M&P B to an A and involve the mayor's office and all of you in the hiring of that position. Now, in terms of what is the financial impact of this, there is a change in reclassification from one pay scale to another. It does elevate the pay scale. Worst possible amount, I shouldn't say worst possible amount, but the difference in the highest amount, step 6, is about $16,000 annually. Our previous incumbent was getting paid at step 6. I would most likely not be bringing in a new incumbent at step 6, and therefore it would take anywhere from 3 to possibly 5 years before that new incumbent would cover that $16,000 difference. And as part of the higher responsibilities, higher level responsibilities, it's also higher minimum qualifications. By an additional 2 years of banking or finance experience, because I would be asking the next incumbent to have a broader breadth of banking, debt, and investment experience. And without that description in that job classification, we're not going to get that type of incumbent that I really think is best for the city and will serve that Treasury Department.
Any questions? Councilmember Kinnear.
So, thank you. If I were a finance person, had a job in the private sector right now, I'm asking a little bit you to use your crystal ball right now. Would it really be worth my while to jump from the private sector to the public sector financially, given that there's going to be a higher expectation for your skill set, right? But I could make more money in the private sector. Why would I want to work in the public sector?
That is a great question, and I'll take from my own personal experience. I was in the banking industry. For many years, I was in the banking industry, and I was serving governments, Those were my clients. An opportunity presented itself, and I took it. Now, I can only speak for me. I can't say that another incumbent would do this, but the reason why I came to government, twofold. I felt I could serve my community better, and that was very, very important to me. I was involved with a lot of organizations, and that intrigued me. But I don't have the braveness that all of you have to run for an elected position. So it was very intriguing, and it also suited my skill set. It suited my skill set. But at the time, the banking industry was going through quite a bit of turmoil. There was a lot of stability in government. And when you're bringing up a family, I cherished the stability that government had. So for me, it was those two key reasons. Provided the stability that I was looking for. In 5 years, I went through 3 mergers at a bank. It's very, very stressful to go through mergers like that. But then I also got to serve my community in a very unique way that from my skill set that I can contribute in the best possible way. So you're right, I don't know what kind of incumbents we're actually going to get. I don't know if they're going to come from the private sector, but if they're at all like me, they might really, really appreciate and take the pay cut, I did, for the stability and a different way to serve.
Thanks. We always hope for that. And yet, we have lots of vacancies, so thank you. Appreciate that.
So Tanya, I hear what you're saying, and I know this year with the vacancy in the accounting department, it will not be that big of a budget hit to bring this person on. I continue to be concerned about adding employees as our budget is challenged. I know I keep hearing, well, the tax revenues are going to be great, but we really don't know what that's going to look like and how that's going to play out. It's just, as you say, unrealized or just speculative, so going forward. So I'm concerned. I am sponsoring this. Councilmember.
Cathcart.
Yes, oh my gosh.
Zathcart.
Councilmember Zach Cart will be co-sponsoring this with me, but I do want you to know that is a concern as we continue to add people, and we don't know really what our revenue source will be going forward. Any more questions from council for Tanya? Councilmember Stratton.
So has the city, and I don't know if you know this or not, have we ever had a deputy treasurer position?
Yes, I was told many years ago there was a deputy treasurer position as well as a treasurer position, not just a ex officio treasurer, which I am ex officio treasurer. So yes, there were actually 2 positions.
Okay, and then this is going to be, I'm hoping, an open search. Anybody can apply.
Most definitely. When I have done, like I brought to you the fleet director and the facilities director, and I will be bringing forward to you as well as the purchasing director, the process that I usually do that has been very, very successful is a full open recruit. So fully open. And then I go through 3 rounds of internal interviews. The first round is just for fit. It's very short. But the second round is with customer departments. So I bring in other departments that we serve because we're an internal function. So that's the second round. I get all of their feedback, their input. And then the third round is with staff. The staff has to work well. I have to make sure that this is going to be a good fit overall. And then after that, I narrowed the selection down to the top candidate, and then I present that candidate to the mayor, and the mayor does her own interview with the candidate, and I'm not present at that interview. If she has any concerns, we discuss. If not, then it moves on to you with the full package.
With a proper staff, to be able to fill your department and staff the positions that you need, these positions would be able to find areas where we're inefficient to help the city save money, correct?
Yes, there are quite a few, I would say, there are gaps, definitely, or better yet, opportunities for improvement all around, significant opportunities for improvement. Always, the skill set of staff is one consideration, but just general capacity. This is not about skill set or the lack of skill set. The previous incumbent had the full skill set with investments and arbitrage and a lot of the debt management that we do. He simply didn't have the time, the capacity. And so where we were actually hurting ourselves was in our cash handling and our banking. Since he was working on that, and again, council, if you look at that previous job description, you will not find that in that job description. But that's what he was doing because that was the highest priority. But then where we were lacking was in our internal controls and cash handling skills, not skills, but processes and policies. So he took that on as well. And in December, we just passed our cash handling policies that hadn't been updated in 15 years. Staff right now, Connor is one of them, that is working on getting a training established for good cash handling, because there are a lot of gaps or opportunities for improvement there. So we need to just spread ourselves out and reduce risk where we can. Cash handling on our banking side is where there is also risk, so we need to do that as well. So that's why I'm asking council to approve this reclassification. Involve yourselves in the hiring process for this, but allow me the opportunity to hire somebody that will also help cover investments and debt arbitrage and complex cash flow analysis.
And again, this isn't a new position, it's
not
a
a-
reclassification
Correct.
of the position that you're
Correct.
looking for.
It's the current position as the manager, plus significantly more responsibilities and an increase in the minimum requirements.
That position was already doing before. We're just defining it now to where it's an actual full scope of their responsibilities.
Yes, sir, that was my observation.
Okay.
Any other questions for Tanya? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to have Alex come up, and we are going to talk about appointing members to the Equity Subcommittee. After Alex's presentation, then we'll have some discussion. Welcome, Alex. Your first presentation to council also, so.
Yes. Good afternoon, and I feel like I'm shorter than everybody else here. There we go. Good afternoon, council. So yeah, we just finished doing our recruitment process for our equity subcommittee, and kind of have a result and looking for guidance on how to move forward, whether you guys want to interview the candidates or if we should just start meeting with our equity subcommittee. We received 17 applications, 16, one of them lived outside the city. So we're recommending to sit all 16, but leave the application open for Council District 3, English learners, youth, and veterans, since we didn't have much representations from those categories in the subcommittee or in the applications. These are the names that we received. Our recruitment, we opened up the applications from March 14th to April 4th. And advertised it in various different places, and collaborated and partnered with different council members to do some recruitment. So we received the 17 applications. We had a small selection subcommittee made up of community members, council, staff, to look over those applications. We didn't put in any descriptors, so really we just reviewed the answers the applicants had submitted, just to kind of take out our own bias if we knew the individuals or not.
Hey, Alex,
Yep.
could you send the applications to
Yeah,
council?
and I believe I forwarded the
packet?
the answers to you after those were requested. But yeah, I can
Okay.
send them out to
Great.
council. So we had 10 from Council District 2, 5 from Council District 1, and 1 from Council District 3. And then we also looked at kind of where in the city they lived, and 9 of them lived in the community empowerment zone, which is lower income census tracts.
So Alex, so we have 16 on the committee. I guess my question is, why did we choose to have a kind of out of balance in terms of the districts and not just limit it so that they'd be equal?
Yeah, so this is how the applications came in. 16 seemed like it was a good number, but then also I think part of it is seeing how it came in kind of with many members living in lower income census tracts.
But it's your belief that District 1 doesn't need any additional representation? Is
No,
that why
I
we're
mean,
only, but we're only leaving it open for District 3, so that's why I'm asking.
I mean, if we want to have more there, I would be okay with
Well,
that.
I mean, there's no balance. That's why I'm asking. It's clearly out of balance.
Okay.
Geographic equity is a big deal, so that's why I'm saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I'm
can I,
sure-
excuse me, but geographic equity is, except the council district too, you don't know where they live. I mean, they could live in downtown, without
True.
knowing exactly, that would be kind of a specious comment, you don't really know.
But by district,
I
we
know,
have
but
it
my
right there,
district doesn't-
10-5-1.
But, and he just said 9 live in a community empowerment zone, so.
Sure.
I think we need to be kind of careful when we talk about equity. Those are artificial boundaries, District 1, 2, and 3, really. And there are a lot of people in District 2 that could be right on the border, they could be living right on the border of District 1 or District 3. So it's all over the map, is what I'm saying.
Well, and that's fine, and that's fair. Maybe by neighborhood would be a better way to look at it, but.
Be a better way to look at it.
But I just want to make sure that we have proper representation from people with a lot of different experiences and
I agree.
perspectives.
I don't want to put those artificial lines on things like that, because I think then we're going to limit ourselves even further.
Sure.
And if your recommendation is to also allow more from Council District 1, that'll be fine. But yeah, that's why we were looking at the community empowerment zones to see kind of that lived experience of how the neighborhood is
Do we know that
benefiting.
breakdown of community empowerment zone by district?
I'll have a map that I can show real quick.
Everywhere.
So it was pretty diverse recruitment. And we didn't, like mentioned before, we didn't have anybody that identified as a veteran and one person that identified as disabled. And that's, in the light green, you have the community empowerment zones and where the applications, general area of where the applications came in. And that's,
So I will speak. This committee was designed to be more inclusive. When I came on council, we talked about our finance with an equity lens. We didn't know what that was. It was a buzzword. So we thought, how do we get our citizens engaged in this process? This was established not only for the council side of the house, but for the administration also, because in my opinion, there had not been intentional outreach across the city to bring people in to have a part in this process that we call government. Right now, those are the people who responded, Councilmember Cathcart's. It's open. We are proposing accepting all 16 members because once people get into it, it might not be exactly what they thought it was going to be as we go forward with attrition. If there are people in your districts who are interested, then certainly outreach to them. But this were the ones, people who stepped up at the beginning as we go forward. So is it set in concrete stone? No. As a lot of our engagement work, it is a process, in process as we go forward. I was impressed and excited about the diversity in the number of people who have stepped up to serve in our city government. For me, right now, that's unprecedented, especially the diversity. My question before the council is, do you want to interview each one of these people, or do we want to have it come forth as recommendations from this committee, knowing that you will have had the opportunity to look at their applications as we go forward? So that's open for discussion. Councilmember Kinnear.
I would like the committee to make those recommendations, and I'd love to look at their resumes or their vita, their curriculum vita, whatever they have, but I would trust that the committee, Alex, I trust you, so I would trust that the committee would be able to make, rather than have us go through all, and it's stressful for them to go through interviews with us. I appreciate that, so, yes.
Would we be interested at all in limiting the number from certain districts? Because it does seem inequitable to have 10 from one district and 1 from another. So just on the idea of equity, it seems inequitable to have so many from one district and so few from another. Not to say that they're not qualified applicants, but in looking at leveling the playing field, is that something that you would be interested in?
Shouldn't you wait to see where they're from?
We just saw it on the map.
He
I
showed
know,
us.
Yeah.
but that, you don't know where in District 2 or District 1.
He
was
showed
on the map.
they had a point map there.
In the empowerment zone, so there was a significant number from the
Exactly.
north side.
Yeah,
Yeah, all 5 District 1 were from the empowerment zones.
Because almost
That's
all of District 1
important.
is an
I'm-
empowerment zone.
Yeah, and I'm not denying that, but still to have, 2/3 of the committee from District 2, whereas a couple of them are from community empowerment zones in District 2, still seems as if the committee is making recommendations, District 2 still wields significantly more power than the rest of the districts.
Alex, could you go back to the empowerment zone map if you have the
Please.
ability, please?
I hate these these lines we're drawing artificially.
There are,
Oh, Betsy Breen has his hand up.
oh, I'm sorry, Council President Brien, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that in our past subcommittees, we have not aspired for geographical balance. We've asked people who are interested in the topic, and if they've applied and are at all qualified, we've allowed all comers. And at this point, we're not anywhere close to the maximum of this group, so there's plenty of room for more District 1, more District 3, for veterans, for people who are disabled to join. I just don't think we should limit people who have shown an interest based on topics that are really unrelated to geography. So I think we should just approve these and then keep the door open for other interested people. And if there are other people in District 3 or District 1 that we can recruit, that would be great. But we don't have to limit anyone.
And that was a recommendation to keep it open to others who would like to participate. Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, I believe when we approved this, and I'll go back and find the video, that there was numerous mentions that this would focus on geographic equity. So I feel like you can't put it together without having that as the basis. So you can't start out of compliance with the goal right off the bat. But in reference to the question about interviews, I would love to be a part of the interview process. I think council should be, and I think we should be for all the subcommittees. I've seen elsewhere where there is a serious lack of balance, and I don't think it produces good policy. So I think balance is important. Different diversity in perspectives and opinions is really important, and so I think council should play a role in helping to make sure that that's the case.
Thank you. We will go back and research that. But again, I want geographic representation, but I want people on the committee who want to be there. That's just as important also, because we could have people on a committee from where they live, but is the commitment there to do the work that's required of them also, and the passion for the work. So we will review that. When the subcommittee starts doing an interview, please make sure Councilmember Cathcart's included. I think we could all be invited, those who want to participate. I think that should be an option, so we'll leave it up. Councilmember Stratton.
I would just recommend that as we go to our neighborhood council meetings, that we remember to bring it up, to remind folks if they want to get involved.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't take away from the 10 that already
No.
have shown that they want to serve. That's great, and we can just add, or the 10 in the one area.
16, yeah.
Right, there's 16 total, but I would just, try and get our numbers up and see where we go from there. Because if I live in Northwest Spokane and I'm lower income, and there's somebody on the south side that lives in a different location and they're lower income, we're going to see
Some similarities.
some similarities over income rather than what part of the town we live in, so.
Great. Thank you, Alex.
One more.
Yes, Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, Alex, just real quick, what issues, topics will the committee be focusing on? What is that kind of, just broadly speaking, what does that look like?
Finance, I'll
So is
answer
it
it.
So like our budget, they're going to review the budget, give us feedback,
They're-
or SBOs, so when one comes forward, they'll give it, like, how is that going to work, I guess is my question.
I don't see so much as, this. Thank you, Councilmember Cathcart, not so much as SBOs, but as our budget goes forward with a different view. I think sometimes we get in our own echo chamber of the budget, the budgeting process, what's important to us, but have we heard what's important to the people that we're trying to serve? I know we have responsibilities, but I think, which is why I advanced this idea at the very beginning, what opportunities are we having to have our citizens come in and be a part of the process? I know we're all elected, but we don't hear from everybody in our district.
Well,
So,
that's for sure.
absolutely. So what can we do as a city to have citizens participate in our processes as we go forward? So that was my impetus, to disrupt some of the ways that we've always thought, to alleviate some of those perceive where one district has more power than another district has, and be more inclusive. So that was the impetus. I look forward to more discussion. Again, we will continue to do our outreach. Thank you, Alex, for the work you have done. But as council members, some of that lays on us too, if we want our citizens to participate and we show up and invite them in. And this is an inviting in process that we have undertaken for the city. Thank you, Alex.
Yep, thank you.
I want to make a correction on one of our consent items, number 1, about refuge and porta potties. We omitted a briefing paper on that. We thought it was one entity, but it's actually 2 entities. They'll be doing the same work. I am the sponsor of that, so unless anybody has issues about multiple people providing porta potties in the city around work, and Hannah Lee can give us more clarity.
Yeah, just to be clear, it's a separate contract,
Right.
also for $140,000, so it'd be $280 total. It is not a combined $140, is my understanding. And basically just making sure there's no issues, even though that did not end up in the agenda, if you're okay with it moving forward, or if you'd prefer that it go back through the committee process on a different committee.
Any input on that?
It's fine.
I don't think it should
Yeah.
have to go back through the
No,
process.
it's fine.
I don't think so either. I think they're needed quicker than that, so.
And Matt just clarified they're both in the budget,
They're
so.
both in the budget. Okay, thank you, Hannah Lee. Well, if there is nothing else to come before finance,
I have a
Councilmember
quick
Cathcart?
question. Are we going to have, does anybody know if we're going to have a study session on the ARPA changes or a further discussion before we actually bring that forward for a vote?
There is a scheduled meeting, Hannah Lee, and tell me the date. The next.
So the SBO has not been scheduled for a separate study session. I believe in a couple of weeks, we're planning to bring forward more on that childcare plan, more like that second touch with more specifics for council members. Is that correct?
Before the RFP goes out.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember exactly. I think it might be the 28th, or it might be the next week. I would have to double check the schedule.
Hopefully, it depends on the RFP.
Yes.
So that will be coming forward, but it'd be separate from the SBO.
And how many SBOs have we approved on ARPA to date?
Only the original one.
And so I guess why not bring a lot more forward than just this one item? That's kind of my question. We're sort of sitting on a lot of ARPA money and not a lot's happening, so why only this one?
So I think the reason behind this was we did our outreach and we heard a lot from the community about a lot of need with vouchers and also hiring, getting centers stood up. And so hearing a lot of that need, we're like, we can increase the allocation now. If they end up not using it all, it can go back into the bucket too. So that was the reason around the child care in
But
particular.
it feels like it's a little outside the process, and so if we're going to jump to SBOs, I've got some that I'm happy to bring forward, so.
So if I may, because this childcare piece is actually kind of the first one that's moving forward, it came to that group's attention that they needed more funding, and so that's why this secondary SBO is coming forward. I believe the subcommittee was wanting to wait on that third tranche until we made some progress on some of these items on the first two. So
So the committee's going slow on the third tranche?
We're at a standstill, to be honest.
Yeah.
The committee's at a standstill.
Because
The process.
Should we change the process? I really think we should be considering changes to this process because it doesn't seem like we're
it's
getting
not
money
on,
out.
it's not on the allocating and deciding that side. It is, what's the point of allocating more if we can't get money out the door?
And so
That's where we're at.
are we talking to the administration and are we giving them some due diligence ability to move forward on their end too?
And I believe Matt Boston's been doing quite a bit of the discussion as well.
So the administration, there's a process, and Tanya could speak to this if she wishes, or it could come up in a study session. What has to happen? The money's been allocated, RFPs are in the process of being written. That is taking more time than any of us would like because there has to be some specificity to it. Then it has to go to the administration. The RFP has to go out. There is a week of due diligence where people can ask us about it, then it closes, and then it's reviewed, and then it's awarded, and then the contract's written, then the money goes out.
And it all has to be through an RFP, right, Tanya?
Yeah, Tanya can come. I think there's a lot of confusion.
I think that's the big piece
I
of the
mean,
confusion.
us in the committee get some information, but we're still confused, and I think that doesn't trickle out to the rest of council.
Right.
I just think we should bring Johnny, the mayor, in here and let's hash it out and figure out how we all move forward instead of just
I'm ready for a
standing
rock'em
around.
sock'em meeting, so, yeah.
I would love that.
Council members, I do think we can kind of bring to you, there are 10 basic steps to the entire thing from the point of concept idea all the way through closeout of these projects. In many, many cases, a competitive process is required. This is federal funding. Therefore, we are required to have a competitive process. The one time that you really don't have, and of course it can be a bid or an RFP, the RFP is to find an administrator in most cases to handle the administration, and then they will handle the administration, and they will also go through an application process to get people to apply for these smaller grants. The only time that you don't have a competitive process, which still requires documentation, it does go a little faster though, is if it's a sole source. That is very challenging to determine, and without a lot of positive data that they are a sole source provider. Otherwise, you need to go through the competitive process. And as Councilmember Wilkerson stated, the competitive process to put an RFP out there, we do need specifications around the programming. And that is where we're at right now. We have received, like brief paragraphs of what the council is looking for in a program. But before we ask somebody to administer a program, we do need a little more sideboards around that program. For example, and I'll just use childcare as an example.
It's a perfect example.
Is there going to be a maximum on an amount? And that may be for the administrator to decide, but that is something we have to put into that RFP of how much discretionary information are we going to allow the administrator to have, or do you want something more tailored, specific to your intent and what you wanted out of that? And that's kind of where we're at right now. But
Is the holdup staff? I mean, do we need more staff? Is that the biggest? Would that allow us to move faster, or is it just takes time and that's just the way it is?
In a lot of cases, it's that it's around the specifications and just trying to tease out exactly what the intent is. We don't want to miss the mark of what you all have a great vision of what you want and what you expect out of this. It's more or less teasing that out so we can make sure that that is what gets delivered. Worst case scenario, that we go out really fast and we miss the mark. And you're disappointed and the community is disappointed in what we've done. So if we do the work up front, we get the contract templates designed, all of that up front, when the money starts flowing, it'll flow really fast and with a lot less bumps. It'll be very, very smooth at that time. So there is a big heavy lift initially, and then it'll get going. But
So-
it is a heavy lift.
Tanya, who's in charge of that? I'm confused. As the child care giving parameters, we kicked it over, and we don't know who's in charge at this point.
Kathy Hayes is the administrator, and we've given her a little bit of guidance to help speed things along, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
So is Kathy the one writing the RFP then?
She's not necessarily writing the RFP. That would be up to the department that is going to be managing that subrecipient contract. but Kathy is helping with the specifications to go into the RFP.
So it would be reasonable that most department heads should know who Kathy is then, if they are working with her?
That would be a reasonable assumption, yes.
And I think Councilmember Cathcart, I have heard, the county's doing it one way, the valley's doing it a different way, and each municipality has their own process, and which is different than ours, it seems like. But truly, we are ahead of the game, and that doesn't sound like much, but you talk to other ones, maybe the county is doing differently, but to my knowledge, nobody has actually gotten money out the door into the community the way we would all have hoped.
Well, we didn't mention Moss Adams either, which
And
has been a big issue.
we have a compliance contract, but to my knowledge, we've done revenue replacement in-house, but any money that's going out to the community has not moved yet.
Okay.
We are getting there. We are
Okay.
getting there.
Thank you, Tanya. If there's nothing more to come before finance, this meeting is adjourned. We'll see you back at 3:30 in briefing session. Thank you all.